Hey everybody, welcome to The Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. Today we have Beau on the right-hand side of me, and today's a special treat because, The Blacklist is all about finding people that are essentially behind the scenes that have done amazing work. This man has done phenomenal work, is very humble, is very genuine, and I appreciate, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's an honor to be included on the guest list for sure.
Yeah.
So,
So for people that don't know you, I know, I know a little bit about you, and we both know a lot of people, very similar inside of the space. You've done amazing work with, shooting commercials for Lebron, Arnold, right? You've managed over $250 million in ads. That's pretty huge. But for everybody else that doesn't necessarily know who you are, who is Beau at its core?
yeah, no, it's interesting. The internet marketing space and kind of advertising in general orients itself around disciplines, right? Like
Yeah.
PR, advertise, like Facebook, TikTok. Oh, you're the TikTok guy. You're the Facebook guy.
Yep.
And I've, quite candidly, I've always struggled with that because marketing is, we don't shop that way
Yeah.
as consumers. Like, I make a purchasing decision after visiting a lot of things. We build into, and that's what it is. And so a good marketer should have some level of Swiss Army knife capabilities and things like that. And so I was kind of like looking kind of in the rearview mirror, and it's like, I think why I've always kind of bucked against that trend or always kind of more drifted towards more the ideal of being a Renaissance man,
Yeah.
and at least knowing a lot about a lot or a little about a lot, is because of my background. And so I was born into my folks were missionaries, and so we grew up going and traveling. By the time I was like 13, I think I'd been to nearly every state in the U.S. and 5 different countries. I'd been like mostly, and by the way, countries. I'm not talking about like bougie experiences, et cetera. Nothing against that, but like was held at gunpoint in Russia, like literally had a knife, held at me in Kingston, in downtown Kingston. Had some people fall around me in China in terms of, trying to figure out what we were up to. And so
Yeah.
all of that experience kind of culminated into, I think, some level of a PhD in anthropology at an early age,
Yeah.
just by just kind of getting saturated in a lot of different cultures, a lot of different of those types of things. And so I think to tie it back into that first point, my discipline is humans. I really love people in general. And
Yeah.
I think I love to understand what makes them tick and the behavioral psychology around that. And I think that's given me a decent amount of staying power in the marketing and advertising and just business growth space, because trends are going to come and go. Those things are great. It's good to know great operators that understand these disciplines.
Right.
Tying that all together in concert together as a composer is really something that I really enjoy overseeing and helping people out with.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you're also a father, right? And what I like about you is, sometimes when we'll speak, it's like, yeah, family first. Like, I got to go attend to this. Like, you're very much family oriented as well. So, although I'm mentioning a lot of his accolades, I really want to make sure that everybody knows as well. Like, he, prioritizes his family very much, and I, look up to him for that because I just had a 5-month-old. Even right now before the show.
Sweetheart.
Thank you. Even before the show, he was like, before we come in, he's like, let me go greet your daughter. Let me go, greet your girlfriend, things like that. So he's, super genuine, and I appreciate that. So,
Oh, dude, don't get me talking about it too long. We'll lose like a half hour in a hurry. But, I think that we all need something to ground us.
Yeah.
And as much as I love work, I mean, it is my hobby. I don't think I've watched a down of football this year. And I'm not looking down on anyone that has. It's fine. It's a great pastime. But like, literally, my family, mountain biking, and business. Like, I do have a hobby. It's called mountain biking, and that's great. That's grounding as well. But I think that if you're gonna like have staying power in this game, you need a third place.
yeah.
Right. You need something outside of it. And so for me, that's my family. For other people, that's other things, and that's great. But I think in some way, because of my kids' kind of dramatic entrances in this world as well, I think it's really kind of solidified or carterized, if you will, my role as a father.
Yeah.
My son, who's now 7, was born 2 months early. And my daughter was born nearly 3.5 years ago with a pretty significant spinal defect called spina bifida. And so we can get into that a little bit later. But the point is, I think that, you find your third place either reactively or proactively. And mine's kind of been a mix of those, but I think it's my greatest role. It's my favorite role. It's also one of my harder roles, but I think it's the one that I've had the most positivity just pushing into, and has really grounded kind of my general thinking. Because you can come home from a bad day at the office and wrestle around with a 3-year-old on the carpet, and I mean, game over. Like, no matter what email you got that day, like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I've been experiencing that too.
Yeah.
It's like, and I could, something could happen or whatever, and I'm out of the flow for a little bit. But the moment I see my daughter, it's just like, man, that stuff doesn't necessarily matter,
Yeah, game over.
Yeah, no, I see that too. And so part of you were telling me, before the show too, you were saying like part of that is resilience. Like if you look at your life in chapters, there's 3 chapters, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first part is resilience
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, all of those experiences that you had, right, in anthropology where basically you were everywhere, that seemed tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think, the old Mike Tyson quote, like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
So like I am working with young founders in my current capacity and learning and beginning to start to write about some of these experiences and share with them. Quite honestly, I'm usually the guy behind the camera, creative directing and things of that nature. And so, hi camera. But I think we all have a plan. And it was funny. I was a bucko 5'3" my first year playing football. And I can't see out of my left eye that well, short story long. So I ended up on the line because I can't catch a ball. I don't have great depth perception.
Yeah.
And so I ended up on the line, and my coach always called me the Weeble Wobble, which is an old school like toy that has like a sandbag in the bottom. It's an airbag, and you punch it over and it bounces back up. But the definition of resilience is when you get essentially kicked in the face, like punched in the face, how fast do you get back up?
Yeah.
And because I think we can all agree that it's not if, but when in life, the longer that you live. COVID was a good shock to the system for people that haven't been through hard things or things that were kind of life altering and things like that. So I think this discipline of being able to bounce back is so, so important. And so for the first 5 years of entrepreneurship, again, like I could tell you story after story of bad days and good days. But I think it is people that have staying power in this learn to have resilience, right? And so I think that comes through, I think that we as men, we have some good, like basically some God-given roles, however you want to look at that, and some responsibilities and some rights. But I think if we're not on mission, if we're not pointing towards something, my 7-year-old, bedtime has just been a hot mess lately. And so we put together a small list, right? I'm like, all right, we got this. And gave them some like responsibilities, like, hey, we need you to run downstairs and get water for your sister and things like that. And sure enough, like within a week, bedtime turned around because I gave a boy who's becoming a man some responsibilities. And I think that's the power of entrepreneurship. Usually entrepreneurs are on mission of some sort.
Right.
And the way you bounce back fast is that you tie your rights, right? The things that you feel like you have, you got given like an opportunity to press into, those responsibilities into purpose. And that's going to give you the chance to get back off the ground faster, right?
Yeah, for sure. Why dive into entrepreneurship when, you could do anything in the world?
It was out of principle, to be honest. I was at Office Max Corporate and also some goals on the personal side of things to move to Colorado. But I was at Office Max Corporate at the time that I took my step into kind of towards entrepreneurship. I at that point had the opportunity to work on the team that elfed yourself, right? They created the Elf Yourself campaign. I'm dating myself, but we created 150 million elves that danced, and you could paste your face on flash animations and dance and this, that, and the other. And that was really incredible and viral. But also, I didn't quite candidly always see the return on that type of thing. And digital was starting to happen at the time. And so I thought, man, if I combine what I'm learning about digital with this idea of stewardship and generating an actual practical ROI for people, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. So now that's not a novel concept, but you can imagine at a time that was.
Right.
Right? Because I was like, well, what did 150 million elves get us to our bottom line? And it was always a little bit hard to get that answer. And we had a good answer for it, but not a great answer. And so my step into entrepreneurship was helping people solve those types of questions.
Yeah. But, okay, cool. And I want to dive into, like you said, the moment you go down, because everybody in entrepreneurship knows that that's going to happen. That's pretty natural, right? Mm-hmm. And how quickly you get back up is based off of your mission, you said, or your purpose. Mm-hmm. And at the time, what was that?
Oh, man. At which time that I got?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd say the first 5 years probably, because those are probably the hardest.
Yeah. I think there's times so I categorize stress in 3 different categories, and we'll get to your answer, but I think this is an interesting anecdote. So like there's stress that you create for yourself, There's stress that others create for you, and then there's just circumstantial external stress.
Yeah.
And so as stress comes in, I triage it and look at those things, and I'm like, this is stress that I created for myself. Suck it up, Buttercup. Like,
Yeah.
congrats.
Yeah.
But the circumstantial stress and the exterior stress. Let's just take my son's first. Or I was going to say my son's first birth. My son's birth, my
Yeah.
first kid's birth. He was born 2 months early, and I remembered I had a list of like 16 or 17 really, really critical to dos of like, before he comes, these are the things that need to get done for the business to be tidied up.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it was reactive. It was circumstantial stress. The mission of taking care of my kid and being there as a father and as a husband in that moment took over and gave me the energy to do things that I wasn't doing a few weeks prior.
Right.
Right. So I won't but we lived in the hospital with him for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to like navigate and run this business at the same time. But that's where superhuman strengths comes in. So you either reactively put it on mission. My mission was to take care of our son, take care of my bride, be there, be present, or proactive. In my life, it's mostly been reactive. So I have a hard time answering this question to proactive sense.
Yeah.
But if that sounds like you'll know it when you see it, because you'll find some fire in the belly. If you're missing fire in the belly, you're probably missing a mission that you're passionate about.
Yeah. Damn. Powerful answer. And so it changes then. It changes for you.
Yeah.
But you always have that kind of like burning desire to move forward or move past something.
Yep.
But I think what I want to get to is like, why? Because another person in your situation, could be why me, or could have completely different thoughts than the way you just kind of spoke about it.
You have two choices. You either can be the victim or you can be the victor. That's it.
Yeah.
You've got two choices, right? When my wife and I found out that we were going to have a kid born with special needs, he said, hey, this is either going to push you in together, like SEAL Team 6 style, or it's going to push you apart. That's it. Those are the two scenarios, right? And so when you're put on mission, whether that's in the context of team or not, just know that stress, and I'm watching it right now around founders. I could tell you some pretty nasty stories of what I've seen over the last 6 months, and this little bit of a recession that we're going through. It brings out some nasty things in people, but it brings out the best in people too.
That's true.
And so my encouragement is just like, just make that choice early and show up and fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So right now with, the way you're currently helping, agency owners, because right now you're working with Josh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, how long have you been working with Josh?
I probably should tell people what I do.
Yeah. Let's go into it. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a 3-chapter career in essence. I've worked with brands for the first, let's call it 3 to 5 years, deeply on the agency side. Sold an agency, got the opportunity to work with even bigger brands, go sell into Google, or go sell projects to Google, Twitter, consult with Netflix and Southwest, and do Fortune 50 type level stuff.
Yeah.
And then really throughout that, to be honest, and this sounds weird, but I'll just save some of you guys the punchline. If you are living with the gusto to like fly to Portland to Nike's campus and call on them, there's life beyond that. I'm not like, there's a punchline beyond that that's worth fighting for. And for me, that's in a professional context, that's being in the corner of the founder throughout that journey. Because if that is your aspiration, I think that's fantastic. But there's life beyond that. And that's kind of brings me to my third chapter, which is being in founders' corners throughout the most pivotal time of their professional career, which is buying and selling businesses.
Yep.
Having done that myself, man, it is an emotional time. You are being taxed beyond your kind of initial skill sets from just like learning new words, and it's a glossary of terms and all those types of things. And so, professionally speaking, that is my chapter I'm in right now, is helping people buy and sell businesses.
Yeah, and you're the CEO of
Dealflow Brokerage.
Yeah.
So a good friend of mine that I met kind of in the industry, a guy named Josh Elizeche and Lo Silva, had picked up a brokerage in the last year or two, and we're looking for a leader to step in, kind of commandeer that thing and run that. And Josh, you think, I have a decent resume in this space. Josh is the penultimate, just incredible crusher in the direct consumer and omni-channel space. This guy at his age, which is young, I don't know, I won't share his age, you can look it up. He's young at the end of the day, and he has bootstrapped his snow teeth whitening to a $250 million top line business. And so to learn and be around and work with that guy, and Lo Silva, who is like MBA level, pro level at his craft, which is also consulting and helping brands through this thing called Powerhouse Mastermind. Just to be in these guys' worlds and also help founders with their network and my network grow forward. That's the chapter I'm in right now.
Yeah, yeah. And you always give people their flowers, which is really, really good. And so what are you guys doing at Dealflow, which I know you're helping, agency owners with M&A.
Yeah.
But dive us into it, how it looks like, not necessarily on a day-to-day basis, but kind of the overarching.
Yeah. So a few things that we've noticed in the just kind of the brokerage space and helping people, the business building space, I'll just call it, is it's actually pretty rare for a founder to find someone to be in their corner in the middle of that transaction. So a lot of times to be honest, a lot of my peers in the space just find the first business that will, buy a company at its highest multiple or whatever, and that's great. But I think the chip I have on my shoulders, I want to make sure that's the right transaction.
Yeah.
That's the right thing for that founder to move into their next transaction. And also, if they're not ready to sell, man, to refer them, to put them in the ecosystem that's going to get them ready to sell at the highest multiple, in the best way. And so through Powerhouse and through the ecosystem we built through our blacklist, we can put people, in your world if they're suffering at PR, et cetera. And so, that's the unique angle I think we have on the market, is the ecosystem that we've collectively built as entrepreneurs and the business acumen that we've gained from actually doing this stuff over the years. And that's, man, it's been a pretty intense first few months. Right now we've got about $200 million worth of companies on the portfolio that are looking to find the right partner. All profitable, all great companies, and then we were working with some amazing people on the buy side as well, that are looking to put a good amount of money in the market and invest right now, and a time that quite honestly is a great time to invest.
Yeah. So the companies that are working with you, do they end up going through you guys because they know they want to sell and they're ready to, or is it they don't know that they want to sell yet, and then they're kind of working with you guys, and then you're like, hey, positioning them. I think you do both, right?
Man, I love that latter, right? I love that conversation, man. There's no better time to prepare for retirement, right? Or like, there's no, anyway, I forget the idiom, but you get the general idea. It's always better to start that conversation earlier, and that's my guidance for anyone listening, is please, start the process, learn the numbers. And this goes back to my story with Eli. I wanted to build an exitable agency, but until I was punched in the face and had to step away from that for 6 weeks, I didn't actually get a good, repeatable process and operationalize my agency so that it could be built to sell.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement to anyone is to take 2 weeks off of your business. If you're running a business of any sort, see what breaks, come back, fix it. And guess what? You're taking steps to having a repeatable business that is actually sellable and resilient for the marketplace. And then if you don't know what to fix or need guidance on that, give someone like me a call, and I can walk you through, hey, here's what makes you sellable, read books, etc. But start early. And don't wait till a medical emergency to do that. Just go on vacation. That's a way easier way to get that report card.
Yeah. And so when you're helping out these, founders, do you ever notice that a lot of these people don't necessarily want to sell? They say, yes, I want to sell. And the moment it comes down to it, they're like, this is my baby. I'm going to lose out on cash flow and, things of that sort. Or is it pretty much smooth transition? Everybody's like, yeah, I want to go ahead and move forward with my life and sell.
I think it depends on where things are going from a macroeconomic standpoint. Usually, I think that if I'm working with founders, usually they want to sell. They either have a bit of ego involved, and there's a number that's in their head that's memorized. Not until this thing's worth X, am I going to sell. The challenge with that is if you fall out of love in your business between point A and point B, the business has a propensity to go down. So goes the business, so goes your energy, so goes the business.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you get an offer and an opportunity, actually listen to it. And if it's a few $1 million or a few $100,000 less than what you think, I got news for you. Those things don't come around every day. Find someone like us to put in your corner and navigate through. You can, there's tax strategies. There's ways that you can, some of these things can become a rounding error if it's just your ego that wants to sell for $5 million and you have a $3.5 or $4 million offer. Just come on, bro. It's first world problems.
Yeah.
The core of your question is I think at what point should people sell? Oh, do they fall in love with their business and then kind of at the closing table? this is the qualitative side of it, I think, and this is where like I have a heavy influence on perspective, right? I think that there's this idea of, man, I'll be starting from scratch after I sell, or what will I do with
Yeah.
myself, or man, this is my baby. There's just bigger things in life to get emotional about, right? Like there just are. And if you negotiate in such a way where your people are taken care of in that transaction, and that you can go and pursue the next thing, you're always going to be building on the foundation of the thing before it.
Right.
And I think if I'm in someone's corner in that moment, they have that moment, I'm like, hey, dude, all these skills and all this network and all this thing is not going to like just randomly dissipate after you sign that document. In fact, it'll grow into the next thing, and it'll give you an opportunity to do something beyond that.
Yeah.
Build from that foundation.
Yeah, see, that's why they need to speak to you, because like you said, you have that perspective that they might not have, and you've done it multiple times, so you kind of know exactly how it works. Is there ever a, deals where you're like, hey, this is probably not the best thing to do? Because it sounds like a lot of what you do, you are in the agency founder's like corner. You're not necessarily just looking for the biggest transaction. You said you're looking for the right transaction.
Yeah, and to be clear, we serve e-com companies, SaaS companies, service companies, et cetera, and beyond. I mean, we've got some just kind of middle of America, like manufacturing stuff in the mix that we're looking, or even apparel and soft goods and things like that. And so, broadly speaking, yes, I'm in the founder's corner, and that comes from both sides of the table. Sometimes we represent buy side, right? I'm shopping actively for a guy that wants to go buy a certain type of company, and we're helping represent him in that. The important thing is, so going back to my three themes a little bit, you've got resilience, I think congruency, and leverage, and we're kind of getting into leverage. And so when you achieve or graduate to that point where you have something that's of value that you can leverage, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side of the transaction, having that perspective matters, and that's how you build teamwork. My wife and I have different weaknesses and strengths.
Yep.
We're still team six in terms of how we take care of our kids, and she is strong where I'm weak. A good business transaction looks like that as well.
Explain that analogy a little bit more.
Yeah. So again, I'm going back to why people wait too long to exit, which is a bit of a thesis for me.
Yeah.
I think that people have this idealistic view of everything's got to be predictable. Everything's got to be SOP'd in my business. Everything's got to be perfect before I even start to shop. A perfect business is not an acquirable business, because that doesn't have deficiencies that an acquiring party can actually step in and monetize off of and scale.
Yeah.
So what you're looking for is a business that has some characteristic strengths, some resiliency, some congruence within its offering to the marketplace. And then you're looking in that process for congruency so okay, you sell PR, so-and-so does a great job with paid. Okay, you can do a JV, you guys get whatever. There's a lot of like things that come from learning through those deficiencies. And that is like the penultimate idea of leverage through growth and acquisition. Is lowering your own ego and pride and going, you know what, we do have some deficiencies. I'm sure there's someone out there that could leverage our customer list to go and do bigger and better things. And that would be just fine with me, because I'm really good at this thing.
Right.
So learning to think through that is super important.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like an aha moment, especially for me, because you're right. As a business owner, you're like, crap, I got to fix all this stuff, whatever that might look like, right? There has to be SOPs for everything. It has to be perfect, but there is no perfect business. And in fact, if it was perfect, either one, you probably wouldn't be selling it, or number two, buyers are looking to buy businesses where they can influence a certain portion of it, so that way they can grow it. Right?
100%, man. Yeah, that's the truth. And I think, exposing your network to that and being comfortable with your strengths and your weaknesses takes confidence, to be honest, and a bit of humility, but certainly an ego shouldn't be present at that table.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. How big does how big is your network with the Dealflow stuff? Because I know a lot of businesses are for sale, right? You can find them on Buy, Biz, Sell, all that type of stuff. But I'm assuming not a lot of those get off the table. So does a big portion of this have to do with the network that you've built and that Josh has built, and that's the reason you can move the needle in a certain direction?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to say never. We will likely never be a public listing in terms of our how we list our businesses that are for sale. We will have some that are publicly listed just so people understand what kind of businesses we're representing and are on the market, but this is not a directory.
Yeah.
It is a concierge experience in the mid-market, typically in $1 to $15 million EBITDA range, so bottom line. So these are companies that are not on, and listen, I know Ray at Flip, they do great work. They're awesome. There's a litany of great directory listings out there for that kind of smaller to early mid stage company out there. Our network has given us this gift of gravitational pull of kind of pocket listings of off market businesses that aren't in a place where they've arrived at a place where they have to sell.
Right. Because then, oh yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
go for it.
Because that's not great for, well, it can be great for the buying party. It's not always great for the selling party. You just put yourself in a place where it's, just kind of a fire sale. And so what we're seeing is that just the gravitational effect of our network brings in these types of profitable, healthy businesses that are looking to leverage their strengths, products, widgets for the marketplace, and they need a strategic advisor to help them find the right company to buy them.
Yeah.
Or conversely, company to sell or to buy, excuse me.
Is there an average of how long it usually takes from the moment they start working with you to the moment they sell?
Man, I think, again, going back to parenting, this is not demeaning our founders, right? Like we always try to do our functional stuff first, and then we get to the fun. A lot of people reverse that in the deal cycle, and they'll do the fun part first, and they'll go find the perfect buyer, and then they'll get to the closing table, and then they'll start asking all these really, hard questions, and now we're getting into the functional part of it, due diligence, and this, that, and the other. We try to front load the functional elements as best. We're going to tidy up the books. We're going to work through ad backs. We're going to work through all these types of things just to make sure that the deal can move faster. It's a long-winded way of saying we like a deal that moves 3 months. Men is pretty normal. The industry average is about 6.
Yeah.
We really pride ourselves and try to work as hard as we can to get to that 3-month mark.
Got it. Okay. Can I ask a more personal question about that whole deal? Okay. Yeah. What percentage do you guys take in the deal?
Sure.
When helping.
Yeah, no, it's a sliding scale starting at 10%. Actually, it actually goes down as the transaction goes up.
Okay.
So $1 million, exit 10%.
Got it.
And then as you grow into 5, 10, 15, et cetera, it just declines naturally. Okay. And that's pretty standard across the industry.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, if you're working with people like Josh, obviously that's a no-brainer because if you guys can help them find the buyers, if you guys can strategically help them with taxes or whatever, however that looks like in a deal, I think it's well worth it, right? It's almost like a real estate agent, almost in a way, right? Where they're helping you find the right house and things of that sort, and they take a percentage of it.
Yep.
Except you're just doing a lot more work, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that for people that are just not ready, I mean Los and Josh have a mastermind called Powerhouse, and so we can put people that are kind of in that but we're kind of getting closer to the win stage. They can walk through that, learn, really capitalize on that, and then we have a deal where it's kind of self-liquidating, where they can basically get their mastermind fees back if they end up brokering with us, which sounds kind of capitalistic, but it's actually just the way the ecosystem's kind of worked itself out, where we can really serve people throughout that, and then ultimately the money kind of it's just different profit centers at the end of the day, and we're all there to serve the founder, and so it doesn't feel too squirmy to me, to be honest.
Right. So this is a new chapter for you, but not necessarily because you've already kind of been in that space a little bit. How long, or what do you see yourself doing probably within the next 3 to 5 years? Is it still, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. If you haven't picked up on, I think I've arrived at a place where I really enjoy mentoring and being a part of founders' lives. And so at some point, early in my career, one of my many mentors, a guy named Steve Embury, said, "Hey, Beau, I appreciate your passion." I was putting in like 80 to 100 hour weeks at Office Max at the time. And he was like, "I appreciate your passion, but like, there's a high probability you're not going to retire here. So like pay attention to the people around you and push into the people that you really enjoy, really feel like you can impact and can impact you, et cetera." And so that's the perspective I've taken as I've kind of checked off some of the bigger brands I've wanted to work with. I was like, that was cool, but I really enjoyed supporting the founder throughout that, no matter how big the company was. And so this chapter gives me the opportunity to do that in this capacity. I don't know how that's going to iterate over time, to be honest, but that's kind of my thesis right now.
That's an honest answer,
Yeah.
So I know you have a book that you're writing, right?
Yep.
What's the title of the book, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just forgot the byline because I was like, anyway, The Resilient Rebellion. So I love this idea of resilience, as you guys have heard. But it's how to basically live a full life, make bank without losing your soul along the way. And I think I used to and still do quite candidly struggle with that idea of being rich and wealthy and things like that. Uh, and I think some of that comes from my upbringing, but it also comes from now I have a place where I know where that money can go to impact others. And so that's kind of reconciled that within me. But the idea of not losing your soul along the way is equally important, if not more important, because I think that we think that there's all these concessions. You've had some guests that have spoken into this. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel like I can go really hard on the career side of things, but like it's going to come at the expense of my family.
Right.
I love both and. Like I do my hardest. I work my hardest to be both and win on all fronts at all times. I think that work-life integration is real. I don't think work-life imbalance. It's not perfect. I'm here on a weekend, right? Like it's not perfect, but I'll do my best to like recalibrate that with the kids when I get home and things like that. So
Yeah. Okay. And so the book is about that.
yeah,
Essentially?
sorry. So within that, think about it this way: what are the core foundational milestones to build a resilient life, and what are the core milestones of building a resilient business? That's what the book's about: is those two streams and how they dovetail nicely together, and what are the markers and the frameworks of those along the way. Because a resilient business is a sellable business as well, or a healthy business. So I think it's worth aspiring to those.
Yeah. And when is that book coming out?
Oh, now you're putting a timeline on it. I like it. I mean, 3 to 6 months, probably 6 to 9 at the top end, depending on how many grammatical errors I've got to get into for the revs on that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay. And your framework, how deep is the framework? Is it 3 things? Is it 7? Is it a list of 10?
So yeah, it actually goes chronologically. So every year of my career, I've written down a framework that I took from that year.
That is powerful.
And
you've done that for how many years?
15 years now.
Wow.
So
that's hard to do.
Yeah, because I think distilling these learnings into frameworks is where you actually can share and transfer those skills to others.
Yeah.
Sorry, quick pause there. The first framework is this idea of, man, when purpose, profit, and proficiency are all on the table as a human being, in general, that person's going to be operating at the center of their calling.
Yeah.
And so I had a good buddy at A&M when I studied there. Sorry, it was a weird A&M thing. Walk me through that. And he said, hey, like your first job, you might not be like operating at your highest level of purpose, right? You might be like, scrubbing toilets, right? Like you're going to gain proficiency over time. And within that, you're going to get to call the shots and kind of wander into places of greater purpose for you.
Yeah.
But to grow on all of those fronts is really, really important. So that's an example of a framework. So every chapter has one of those frameworks that I learned in that year and steps all the way through and then ties back up into that idea of resilience.
Yeah. Good, dude. Good. Okay. So I kind of want to dive into, this is more personal on the family side, just because I'm a recent father and things of that sort. So you said, it's not perfect, but it's work-life integration, not work-life balance. What's the difference?
Oh man. Think about it in the context of like harmony, right? There's like minor keys and major keys. And so, if there's a week where I have to push real hard Monday through Wednesday, that's a minor key on the home front, right? Like there might be 3 12-hour days in a row, whatever that looks like. Well, I try to surround that with major keys when I get home, and I'll take that Friday afternoon off, turn my phone on airplane mode, whatever, and really try to have the pendulum swing the other direction as much as I can. And so I think most people try to have this miracle morning. If you have a 3-year-old, you will never have a miracle morning. It's just not going to happen. I look at it as like, could I have a miracle month? Could I have like, if I zoom out, can I work it in such a way that I have adventure that inspires me, great time with my wife, great time with the kids, and move the needle on the business side?
Yeah.
That's a good month.
Okay. And how does that look like in a day-to-day?
Every day, I think I'm really sensitive to the day before in terms of the push, right? And so I'm not fantastic at working out, but if I really push the day before, I might sit in the hot tub for a minute, like at 6 o'clock in the morning, and just give myself that grace to just chill out and really settle into it. And so I think like, it's funny, I started as a joke, and it's actually kind of grown into more than a joke. I've got a small group of guys that we follow each other on this thing called 75 medium. Cause
not 75 hard.
Yeah, it's like 75 medium. And listen, I love to go hard. Like I love that, but I don't think that's realistic. I can't work out 2 times a day and be the husband and the dad that I want to be. It's just what it is right now.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. If you can do it, great, no judgment. But I think moderation matters.
Yeah, 75 medium.
Yeah.
That's good. Who's all in that chat with you or that
Oh,
group?
it's man, it's funny. I mean, I've got a small little following. I think we got 15, 20, 30 guys in there, and we're just like, we do a little bit of intermittent fasting. We push each
Yeah.
other. I wrote out the rules. You can go. I guess I should post something else about it. Anyway, yeah, I'll share the rules. Follow me on Instagram. I'll share the rules just publicly, so you can kind of see my modifications to 75 hard.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it. Because I agree. I think, I mean, I know there's literally a guy right outside that is doing 75 hard right now. He's like on day 50 or something like that. And then I try 75 hard and it's freaking hard because like the travel and all that type of stuff, I'm just making excuses,
Dude,
right?
well, no,
But
no,
I like to join 75 medium.
75 medium's where it's at. I think the problem with 75 hard is day 76. And I think like for every like big push that I've ever gone through, like just human nature is to swing back the other way.
Yeah.
And so, I think I view discipline that same way. If like you need to set up maintainable disciplines in your life that exist within the constructs. Dude, you've got a 5-month at home.
Yeah.
I would never look at a guy in a mentorship capacity and be like, you should totally do 75 hard right now. Because like, I know that's going to come at the expense of his wife, of his career, of like, there's always going to be someone that kind of ends up drawing the short straw in that scenario.
So you say you say no to a lot of things then, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
What, how does, I guess like, how does that look like? Because a lot of entrepreneurs have this shiny object syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
They see this, they want to do this, they want to do that, right? They think everything's going to move the needle for them.
Mm-hmm.
You're very aware of what moves the needle for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's mountain biking, it's family, and it's business.
100%, man.
Right?
And I think like, if it's not congruent with those three things, it's probably going to be a no.
Yeah.
And I used to be like make excuses or be like, man, don't take it personal or whatever, but I'm literally just operating within the frameworks and the principles that I've created for myself. And I think like if it's not the right thing at the right time with the right people, it's not going to make the list for me.
When did that start happening in your life? When did you end up figuring that out?
I think once again, reactively, like I would do the right thing at the right time with the wrong people, and it would not be a ton of fun for me.
Yeah.
Or I do the right, work with the right people on the right thing, but it'd be the wrong time, and I felt like I was forcing it. And it would be out of congruence with my framework and kind of my principles. So I really measure everything through those three things at all times.
Yeah.
And that's allowed me to say no a lot more, which has been refreshing.
Is there anything that you've said no to that you regret?
Oh man, do you want to know the list?
There is, yeah.
Yeah, I think, like building other people's audiences and serving them behind the scenes has been one of those things that's like, it would have been cool if I'd shared or documented that along the way.
Yeah.
And
Because you're just doing it now.
correct. Yeah. Like I've been on the blacklist hiding, behind these big brands for over 15 years now.
If you don't mind me asking, how many podcasts have you actually been on?
Probably half dozen.
Half dozen?
At this point.
Okay. I
And
mean, in
that's-
15 years, that's a little bit.
And one, the stories are hilarious. I mean, I actually was kicking myself. I forgot to put on, I was going to tell a quick story about a watch that was 100% a fake watch that I got in China.
Yeah.
While on a buying trip we did a celebrity endorsed product line. And we went on a trip to go over to source product for that celebrity.
Yep.
And we both bought each other like fake watches and just had a great time with that. So like, I've got stories like this just for days. I'm like, I guess that's not normal.
Yeah, no.
To do those
that's
types
not.
of things. And so I think some of it's just been, I've been so in it that I'm just like now coming out of it and like, I probably should hear about some of these things. They're kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, for people that probably haven't worked with the level of clientele that you've worked, how is it different from, a normal, I'd say, agency owner just kind of working with either local clients or,
So I had the opportunity to do a bit of creative direction for Drew Barrymore, my final chapter. So we kind of skipped a chapter. So I exited an agency, worked with a larger full service agency in Boulder. And then when my second kiddo came along, I really, really pared down to, okay, what are the 3 to 5 clients I really want to work with, and left that agency altogether. That's a story in itself.
Yeah.
And really operated within congruence. So going back to saying no, I learned to say no. And I literally was like, I told the guys on the leadership team, I was like, guys, I'm leaving at 4:15, 4:30. I posted my numbers for the year. I'm not going to be doing the 10 o'clock pitches with you guys. That wasn't congruent with my life anymore. Right. I broke the equation appropriately. So, and took a step back from it. So I focused in on 3 to 5 brands for the last 2-3 years with a good business a co-founder of mine, and we just served them privately, right? Like there was no public presence around that. There was no 40 people that we needed to feed day in and day out like we'd done in our previous parts of our career, and we loved it. So that's what no looks like, to go back to that previous question. And what does it feel like to work with these clients was the second question. So,
Right.
So working with Drew Barrymore or the people that represent her or on her team, quite honestly, it's just everything that you know foundationally cranked up to 11.
Okay.
Right. And so if you're foundationally strong, it's the same thing as football. I didn't play that well, but if you watch football players, the game foundationally is the same. Blocking and tackling is what it is. It just the speed increases. And that's what it is when you get into these like just the speed of the game increases. But foundationally, and that's my biggest encouragement to any service providers. I'm like, you already know how to block and tackle really well. You just need to get the muscle memory and the reps and sets for the pace to pick up. And if you watch any first year player in college, they're like the snap and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Right? And they just get used to that speed. But the only way you're going to get used to that speed is probably out punting your coverage a little bit. Sorry for the mixed sports metaphors.
All good.
But by just putting yourself on the field and seeing if you got the chops to play at that level. Yeah. And a lot of great service providers do. They just don't have the confidence to put the scope of work in front of bigger clients or the network to know how to find
Well, give
them.
us an example, because I know a lot of successful people, they say success loves speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does it look like to play at that level and just move 10 times faster than a normal agency would? Like, give us an example of somebody that,
Sure.
of a normal traditional agency, the way that they would work with a client, and then boom, how it moves and, how it all works with you
I'll
guys.
take an isolated example. So I have 3 different plates that I spin, and they're all congruent with each other, or I wouldn't be spinning them. So I mentor business owners and brand owners 1-to-1.
Yep.
I do a bit of group coaching for service providers, and then really like the lion's share of my time goes to these M&A deals and Dealflow Brokerage and all those types of things. One of the things I do is it's called a 3Ps workshop. So I'll come in and I'll help someone get their positioning, their their personas, their positioning, and their marketing process in line. If someone called me today and said, hey, can you do this for a brand tomorrow? And I go, cool, what industry? Send me the URL, let's go. That's what proficiency at speed looks like, and then showing up and being able to walk into that room and make sure that I deliver $10,000 worth of value.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes to get the amount of reps and sets where you can do that on lock at speed with very minimal prep, that's what it takes to be in those rooms. Now, the first 5 3Ps workshops, I would spend 5 days in prep getting there. And now, with respect to that client, I would spend a good 3 to 5 hours as best I could.
Right.
But the reality is I could probably, and I say this as little ego as possible, just reps and sets. That's all it is. I could still walk into that room in 3 to 5 minutes of prep, looking at their website, understanding, and be able to step in and create exponential lift for that company.
Yeah. That's powerful. So this is a personal question for me.
Yeah.
What I've learned is that it's not so, clients care a lot about the deliverable. That's why they're hiring you, but they also care about the experience. When you're working with clients, it sounds like, from this analogy that you just gave me, you're saying like, look, if somebody said, hey, we need to do the positioning, and I literally forgot the other two.
Persona, and then your marketing process, your customer journey.
There you go. Yeah. Right. If we were to do all that and we show up tomorrow for the meeting, for me in my head, I'm like, okay, was there onboarding? Is there anything, right? Like, it's like, that's in my head, because I've noticed that, hey, clients also want an experience, but for you, it's like, we're moving at a fast pace. Like, this is what you asked for. This is what you're getting. Let's get it done, move forward. So is there a right and a wrong way, or is it just like, hey, it depends on the business?
God, the magic's what happens in the room, right? And so like, I think the only time I'll prep a keynote these days is for an actual keynote for speaking. Yeah. But like, honestly, it's about the whiteboard and about that person's needs. And so if they feel my full presence on their business for that 8 hours in that scenario, that is the customer experience. And if I deliver them incremental wins and walk out of the room, I have failed. If I deliver them exponential wins and paths to exponential wins, I have won and they have won.
Yeah.
And that depends on how you onboard and how bespoke you are and your customers. This cannot operate on a template. It has to be you and an expo marker and a conference room. That's the experience, right? Because no one's delivering that. Very few people are delivering that in a transformational way.
Right.
And so
I mean, you can't transform in a template.
100%. Yeah, you could, I mean, and yes, I probably could, and if it was a core focus of mine, which it's not right now, I could probably dress that up with like, cool, let's meet in a fancy place, let's do this and that and the other. But most people just want their business, like the squeakiest wheel, to not squeak anymore.
Yeah.
And to like, put some jet fuel on something somewhere, right? And so if you do that effectively, you'll crush.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's always good, interviewing high-level entrepreneurs because you get to see how their mind works. And yours is very much like, look, if it doesn't align, it's a no. What you're looking for, this is exactly what you're going to get. And I'm assuming that's a big part of the reason why you're successful. Because even with the teeter-totter, or you were mentioning how like
the Weeble Wobble?
Yeah, the Weeble Wobble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you go down and then you get back up. It's like very simple for you. And for other people, it's very complicated.
Sure.
Right? Like I feel like your whole personality in that way, it's like you've made a lot of complex things simple. M&A, for people that don't know about it, I don't know about it, seems incredibly complicated. Right? It's probably one of the hardest things to do, I think, is to sell your business, know what you're doing, purchase and buy another business. Yep. And you're like, yeah, that's simple. It's what you got to look for. And
well, I think it goes back to that, like, I mean, 80% of it's the qualitative side, the people side of it, right? It's just the emotions of that whole entire journey and creating a win-win. And if you're blunt about what the other side of the table needs and what you need, and you work through that, congrats. Like, like that's 70 or 80% of it.
Yeah.
The other 20% are just foundational, like it's a glossary of terms that you need to understand. If I walk into a room and I want to sell my business and I don't know what EBITDA stands for, or STE, or don't understand some of the union speak of that industry, it's not going to go well for me.
Right.
Right. And so that's probably where, and every discipline has this, right? If I wanted to do a software development project, I need to learn the language of software developers a bit to make sure I'm managing them well. And so every space has that, but the 80% of it's just the people side. And I guess that's where I'm decent at.
Oh yeah. You're really good at that. You have a lot of self-awareness. I mean, literally what you said earlier is you categorize your stress into 3 different, scenarios, or 3 different categories, right? So what do you think Josh ended up seeing in you where he was like, hey, I want to work with Beau? Because that's you're very self-aware. So obviously this might be an easy answer, but I think it's good to kind of go deep in and, kind of reflect, like, why choose you? He could have chosen anybody. Sorry, no, he wouldn't have chosen anybody.
True story. Josh could have. Josh has I have a deep bench. Josh has a deeper bench for sure in terms of amazing professionals. And so I do appreciate that. He did share some things along the process. And so I'll repeat his text, not mine, and his words, not mine. But, I do have a bit of a Renaissance man personality type, right? So I can jump into just about any experience and speak into and respect a founder for where they're at and where they need to be and where they're going. Second to that, I would say every situation to me does have a level of that 80-20 principle, where that 20% is really important to me in terms of those exceptions to the norm, right? And so I'm going to let each founder, buy side, sell side, et cetera, know that I care, right? And that's going to be the bespoke side of it. The other points, the operational stuff, that's just leverage, right? That's just SOPs that I can leverage for the betterment of that founder. So he showed me that I understand that. And then the third point is that I can tell a story, and I do care, and I can step into a business and very quickly, I always view it like real estate. It's like Chip and Joe. I don't know if I'm Chip or Joe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Depending on the day, I love walking into someone's company and going, hey, you know what? Like, if you just like prune the hedges over there, put some new carpet in, dress this, that, and the up, like you could probably flip this thing for not much, like for a pretty sizable multiple, and save the money on the other stuff, because you're ultimately going to get sold to someone that's going to be good at that other stuff too.
Yeah. No, well, that's good. That's good. One thing that I also want to cover is primarily like well, I kind of want to backtrack actually. For your one-on-one coaching, is it very similar to the group coaching, but just obviously a lot more tailored, a lot more whiteboard?
I go pretty deep. One of my one-to-one clients right now is running a service company for 14 years now by himself. And to be honest, and I would share this with the table, it's like he's making up for lost time of not having a co-founder for 14 years.
Yeah.
And so that can be a conversation on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock of going, hey man, like the tank's empty this week. What do I do? That's different than, hey, at Thursday 1, I'll see you. And if you need phone a friend support, and we give in group, we give everyone phone a friend support as well. So everyone gets a bit of that. But, for one-on-ones, it's closer to carte blanche within reason, within boundaries. And Jenna knows, my wife, she knows, like if I get an SOS text at 10 o'clock on Sunday, I'll make sure everything's sorted out and settled, and then I'm going to go take care of that person.
And do you feel like you didn't have that, which is the reason why you're kind of giving it to entrepreneurs? Because your biggest thing is like helping them, being there for them, genuinely caring. That SOS text, like I don't know too many entrepreneurs that would actually, do that or even give out their phone number, right? Like
I guess, I've never really reflected on why that's my method and why that's my approach, but I suppose that's what it is. And so like, you've interviewed one of my coaches that offers that to me, right? And Cody Jefferson.
Yeah.
And Cody, like there's been some really, really critical junctures in the last 9 months. I'm like, SOS. And it's Friday at 8 or 9 o'clock. And like, that's really, really special. And so I think I'm just now gaining and investing and being a part of some of that. At this point, I've had that maybe in an informal sense. And so to offer that in a formal way to a handful of founders is really special to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's special for them. I mean, feedback's been good.
Yeah, no. Oh, 100%, right? Like when they're able to text their, mentor and things like that, that's huge. I just personally know a lot of like, mentor companies and things like that don't offer that.
Yeah.
They offer maybe a Voxer, they offer maybe email support, maybe Slack channel. But I don't know anybody that would, offer their phone number or be available like that.
Yeah.
So it definitely does show how you care.
Yeah. And there's a reason it's been, I literally don't have a website for that. I'm qualifying that founder as much as they're qualifying me.
Yeah.
And it's very much invite only and very situational.
Yeah.
To open that up.
So why step into the spotlight now?
It's interesting. So I was out hanging out with my wife's extended family, out on some property, and in Colorado it rains for like an hour or two, or maybe 20 minutes, and then it's sunny. So we were hunkered down under a structure, just kind of like waiting out the rain. And one of her cousins asked me a question, and I just really quickly, I think I had like, I don't even know if I had a sheet of paper or whatever. I like probably just drew on my hand or something, but I just drew, hey, in life, there's profit, there's proficiency, and there's purpose, and that framework. And I sketched it out and walked him through that whole thing. What I'll do is I'll publicly list the first 3 chapters of the book, so you can go read that.
Oh, wow.
On Instagram. So check that out. Sorry, I was like, yeah. Versus
that's a good value add
for 45 minutes. I'll just go and I'll just throw the PDF up. But I just quickly walked him through that, and I saw his eyes light up, and I was like, I've carried that with me for 15 years and never shared that outside of a few stages here and there. And I was like, to withhold is to actually be selfish, and to withhold some of these learnings is to hold back the gift that I could share. And a lot of these things are hard fought gifts. I would prefer for people not to learn these things the hard way as I have over the last 15 years. And so I'd like to compress time with people, share these things, these frameworks. That's the goal.
Yeah. So I should be seeing you on a lot more stages and stuff like that.
Yeah. If it's congruent.
Right. Oh, yep. Exactly. Well, dude, I appreciated you being on the show. Where can people find you?
Simply just at Beau Haralson, Beau. A lot of vowels to accomplish one sound. And then Haralson is Haralson. There's not too many Beaus running around out there, so hit me up there. And then I need to get better at posting like where in the world am I gonna be. But for the moment, I'll start publishing and sharing the stuff that I'm on, and then Dealflow within itself will start publishing a lot more content. As I sit in the driver's seat now for a few months. So
well, before we end, you said you can help people with evaluations.
Yeah, it's interesting. So internet marketing, right? If you've been in the internet marketing space, most good digital marketers know their customer acquisition costs, their average order value, and their lifetime value. Hopefully you do. If you don't, you should go figure those things out. Find someone to help you with those things. But a lot of those founders don't know what they could sell their business for. Right. And so going back to that mission, if that's your mission, you probably should know that number. Right, and you should be tracking to that number and some KPIs around that number. And so in the M&A space, that's called your valuation, right? It's a number that can move and fluctuate with, and how diligently you eliminate key man risk, things of that nature, right? So I've been on the hunt for third-party valuation teams because I can do this a little bit, but like there's people that do this for a living. And
Right,
so
right.
we brokered and got together a deal and was like, hey, for a song, can I offer legit like third-party valuations to our network? And so depending on how complicated your business is, there's some scenarios where we could probably offer at least a directional number to you for close to free. And this isn't a lead form. This is not like you can go to whatever website and get some sort of like, they'll ask you 5 questions. It's a glorified lead form. Let me be very clear. This is
Yeah.
actually like, there's a third party involved. There's people that do this for a living. Hit me up if you need those. And then depending on the complexity of your business, yes, there might have to be some money involved, but we've definitely, on behalf of the entire network, I was like, yeah, this just makes sense to offer this to people. So drop me a note on Instagram. I'll send you the details to that. We'll figure out if it's free, which I think probably 60-70% of people, we've been able to do that for free.
Yeah.
And then, the other X percent, there's just complications. And like, yeah, within the integrity of this valuation, we probably should actually spend some money to like make sure that's right. So
Cool, dude. Well, I appreciate you being on the
Dude,
show.
come
Thank
on,
you so
man.
much.
Thanks so much. Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead. Yeah.
If you were sitting in this chair or a year from now,
Yeah.
and you were defining success as a father, business owner, etc., what would that look like for you?
It would be replacing myself with the CEO and somebody managing that, me continuing to be the face, and taking my daughter and my wife everywhere. Kind of like how I am now.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, you're already practicing like near probably 60% of that right now.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of installing a CEO.
Yep.
You get there. I'll hold you to it.
Perfect. Thank you, dude. Thank you.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. Hey, so one last thing I didn't mention to your audience, but I think it's really a good fit for folks. So we've got 30 or 40 people. We're going to cap it at 40 folks in this thing called Powerhouse Ventures. So Ventures is going to actually train people on how to buy companies and sell companies and get them ready. So for people that are in that in-between world, that are just not quite ready, but they've already built something that's ready to sell, that's Powerhouse Ventures, right? So we're going to meet, tight group, talk through tax liabilities, talk through deal, kind of like, kind of the origami of deals and how that all folds together. That's one thing that I think would make a whole lot of sense for your audience, for people that are in that like already but not yet phase, right? So yeah, definitely something to check out.
Cool. Thank you.
Sweet.